Hi everyone, today our lesson is going to be about reading graphs. Our learning target for today is I can match line graphs with situations. Line graphs are used quite a lot out there in the, real world that we talk about so much. And oftentimes they're sort of just kind of drawn, and they're not always drawn with exact specific data. They're sometimes used to show kind of situations and what happens over time. Line graphs are almost always used to show something over time. So I want to show you a couple of graphs, and then I want you to try to think about some scenarios that the last two graphs might be. So the exact figures don't really matter in these graphs, but we can use them instead to think about, situations and how speed or time or distance or altitude or depth or things like that might change over time. So if I look at a graph like this first one here, this kind of looks to me, I've got time in seconds and then distance. And we've talked a little bit about runners and running races. So as you look at this graph here, this line goes steady at a pretty steady increase for a little while, and then it sort of tapers off and the distance becomes a little bit less for every second, okay? So as the line becomes a little bit less steep, it means that the runner is really slowed down. So it looks to me here like somebody kind of took off and sprinted really fast and then slowed down a little bit. On the second graph here, I plotted what temperature might look like over a year's time. So if we kind of think about the months going from January to December, and the graph fell off the line a little bit here, we might think about kind of low temperatures getting warmer, highest in summer, starting to get cooler again, and then cold at the end of the year. So you can kind of see how that might go up and down a little bit over time. Okay, now I have a situation for the third and fourth graphs that I want you to kind of think about. So they might look kind of goofy, but hopefully when I describe this situation, they'll make a little bit more sense. So one of these two graphs, I thought about a plane taking off, flying, and landing. And the other graph, I thought about a baseball being pitched and a pop fly, and the altitude or how high off the ground a baseball would be during that situation. Can you figure out which one is which? If you thought that this one here was the baseball scenario, you're absolutely right. So I thought about the pitcher getting ready to pitch it, arm behind his back, winding up, throwing the ball, drops a little bit at the plate, and then it gets hit, pop, fly, up, and then comes down. Does that make sense? How that altitude might change over time? So I'm actually going to label the side with altitude. And then this one, I thought about what it might look like a plane taking off, its altitude as it takes off, flies a distance, and then lands again. So this one was altitude as well, but they look pretty different. Here's your quiz question for tonight. So I drew a graph here, and we've got time going this way, of course, and then distance. Sorry, the handwriting's a little bit sloppy. We've got a pretty steady increase, and then a stop, and then a slow increase after that. So I want you to try to think of a scenario and describe what may have happened during this bike race. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful night.